Cypher, and I was the flaw. I'm the loser. I'm not me. I'm just a copy of you.
We've got another parasite outbreak in the laboratory on the quarantine platform. The rescue team went in with more Wolbachia, but the outbreak still isn't under control. I pray this is not some new strain. If it is, then someone may have brought it here.
It's your fault! They were on your side! I'm on your side! And you turned them all to ashes!
They are not dogs.
After a few missions, Snake gets 2 tapes. Both are interrogations of the person believed to be the cause of the Wolbachia mutation, which caused the second Mother Base outbreak. This person is none other than Huey. It appears the mutation was caused by radiation leaking from the X-ray equipment used to scan every Mother Base member for the parasite. The same equipment which helped identifying Quiet as a carrier. Remember? There was a radiation leak a while back which caused some equipment to be quarantined. Well, apparently before the radiation leak was spotted, the researchers were using that to constantly monitor the parasites inside the staff's body, as the parasite could not be removed, only prevented from copulating. But it wasn't only emitting X-rays, it was also emitting beta rays, even though beta rays do nothing to help scans. Beta rays are actually quite dangerous as they can alter DNA much more severely than X-rays. Ocelot concludes that this meant someone must have added the beta rays on purpose in order to trigger a mutation, and since Huey was the only one who ordered and inspected the equipment, he concludes that Huey was the cause of this. Huey, as always, denies every accusation, not yielding even once. Ocelot continues assuming Huey's motives, saying that it's possible that he did it to find a way to treat the parasite without using the Wolbachia, and that if he had something like that, anyone would welcome Huey in, implying that he was doing this to win somebody's favor, since he would have no shortage of buyers. However, because most people would be satisfied with simply having the parasites, Ocelot assumes that whoever this someone is must know about the parasites and know that by itself the parasite isn't much of a bargaining chip. So finding the cure was a way to convince this buyer that the deal was worth it, and there is only one person who would want something like that. Kaz comes in and tells Huey that they monitor all incoming and outgoing transmissions, and that they know that Huey has been in contact with an American biotech company whose client is DARPA, and as we all know, DARPA is connected to Cypher. All of this put together is what led Kaz and Ocelot to believe that Huey had made a deal with Cypher. Cypher offered Huey safety in exchange for a new parasite, and so Huey used Mother Base as a testing ground, as Mother Base was the only place that the parasite still existed, which is why he installed the beta ray emitters. Kaz tells him that he won't be leaving Mother Base alive. Huey will be put on trial and have quote-unquote appropriate punishment delivered to him. At this point, Mother Base staff members storm in the room. They have had it with Huey. Huey starts freaking out and tells them that they have no proof, telling them that they're hypocrites for saying that they're an army without a nation, but they just act like terrorists and guerrillas. He says, quote-unquote, "You're nothing but a bunch of psychopaths." At this point, they all quiet down, and Kaz points out at the fact that he says "you're," not "we." So he says, "So you're not with us? I thought we were on the same side. That's too bad." He knocks Huey down by hitting him and tells his men that they will have justice, but not in a lynch mob fashion. Diamond Dog is built on order and reason. Later, Snake arrives at Mother Base and joins Ocelot, Kaz, and the rest of his men for Huey's trial. Ocelot retells all the sins that Huey had committed against Diamond Dogs. The fall of Mother Base 9 years ago, his collaboration with Skullface, repairing Sahelanthropus and helping Eli with it, and the second outbreak. Huey finally objects to everything when Ocelot brings up that he also killed Strangelove and hid her body, saying the same old tired excuses. At this point, Kaz calls a witness, and the AI pod is moved in from it's moved into the front of the room. When Huey says it's just a machine, it turns on, and Strangelove's voice starts playing, asking Huey to let her out while banging on the walls of the pod. Apparently the pod recorded everything she said while she was trapped, up until she died. And for once, Huey had nothing to say. Huey forced Hal Emmerich, his baby, into Sahelanthropus as a test subject, and when Strangelove objected and hid him away, he put her in the AI pod and left her there to die. Huey again denies these claims, saying that it was suicide, and that even if he did kill her, they have no room to speak. However, Kaz wasn't hearing this shit anymore and declares him guilty of all charges. The soldiers in the room go in uproar, shouting, calling to kill Huey. Ocelot quiets them all down by shooting at the ceiling, and Kaz tells them that they will do whatever Snake deems just. Snake approaches Huey and looks at him. After a few seconds, Snake decides his punishment. He tells Kaz to prepare a life raft for one with food and water and to put Huey in it. At this point, Kaz, who has bit his tongue throughout this whole game, finally blows up on Snake.
He's responsible for all of this! Think of all the men! He didn't lose a damn thing! This is the enemy! And he's here on his knees!
Snake calmly tells him that they are not responsible for judging an enemy. He will leave Mother Base and that will be the end of it. Kaz just quietly leaves, looking at Snake in disbelief. As Huey's dropped on the ocean on his life raft, he continues to deny all charges against him, once again saying that it's all Snake's fault for wanting the nuke. The amazing thing is that he sounded very sure of himself. Not once did it seem like he didn't believe what he was saying. This shows that either Huey is a great liar or he really managed to make himself believe his lies. As they watch Huey drifting away, Kaz assures Snake and Ocelot that he will make it to land and spread stories about Big Boss and the black-hearted Diamond Dogs, and the ignorant public will eat it all up and believe him, because everyone loves a victim. The scene ends with Ocelot saying,
What goes around comes around. You can't run from yourself forever.
As the camera pans to Snake's face. After this, Snakes received the tape of the recording of Strangelove's final moments. On her last minutes, she begins talking to the AI, referring to it as Joy, that being the boss. She knew the AI was recording everything and hiding it somewhere Huey wouldn't find it. She knew one day someone would find it, however, and that Huey would have what's coming to him. She continued talking to the AI, saying that she doesn't deserve to see her or to love her. Remember, she's talking to the AI as if the AI was the boss. She believes the boss would be ashamed of her because she signed up for Zero's plan. She explains that Zero is halfway to being dead, but his plan somehow lives on, inspired by the boss herself. She explains that Zero, or whoever it is that took his name, so it seems that a lot of people believe that Zero may not have had as much a hand in everything Cypher is doing as people think. Anyways, Zero, or whoever, found her and made her simulate Zero's will in the AI pod, the same way she simulated the boss's will in it during the Peace Walker incident. She did it because she thought once again that she could bring the boss back, but in the end, she did what they wanted her to do and modified it to simulate Zero. She says that essentially she only had a child with Huey in order to pass on the boss's will through him. A child with Strangelove's genes and the boss's meme. Strangelove believed that as long as she could do that, the father was irrelevant, as she believed that in a way, if she did it, the child would be hers and the boss, which is kind of creepy. However, this wouldn't happen as Zero or Zero's organization took Strangelove's child away. The tape ends with Strangelove regretting everything she's done and finally dying as she ran out of oxygen. Mission 45, A Quiet Exit. After a few missions, Ocelot informs you that Quiet has run away. Kaz becomes suspicious that she's going back to Cypher and reminds Snake that he said that when the time comes, he will shoot her. Well, Kaz believes that this is the time. Ocelot tells Snake that they located Quiet in Afghanistan, where she was captured by Soviets. So Snake heads to Afghanistan. On his way there, Kotako tells them why Quiet disappeared. He tells them what I thought they already knew, which was that she was carrying the English strain of the vocal parasite. The new information is that for some reason, possibly because she fell in love with Snake, she decided not to use it, which is why she never spoke. She never told them because she knew that if Snake found out, she would be killed or not allowed in Mother Base anymore. However, she refused Wolbachia treatment, so even though she fell for Snake, part of her still wanted revenge against him. So in order to stay, she decided to never speak. But after the mutation, she realized that not speaking would simply not be enough. So in order to save Snake and his men, she decided to run away. Snake's mission is to extract, or if necessary, kill Quiet. When Snake finds Quiet, she's being held prisoner by some Soviet soldiers. They put clothes on her, so her powers are diminished, and she struggles to stay balanced as she tries to run away. One of the soldiers catches her and repeatedly dips her head in water. This, plus not being able to breathe properly because of the clothes on her, made her seemingly die. So the soldier presumably started to take her pants off to rape her. But that's where he done diddly fucked up. Because as soon as her pants come off, she could breathe again. And she went on a dick massacre. She brutally killed every soldier around her in a furious panic. When Snake caught up to her, he cut off her bonds, and before he could say anything to her, they were ambushed by multiple armored vehicles and tanks. After a long battle, Quiet and Snake managed to destroy every vehicle trying to kill them. However, one catches them off guard, and when Quiet notices it, she tries to shoot it, but not before it manages to shoot them. The blast knocks them both out. When Snake wakes up, they're in the middle of a sandstorm, and Quiet is still passed out. Snake points out that there's no sun and no water, so he has to hurry and get her to safety before she quote-unquote dries up. As he carries her away, more soldiers come to check the situation, and Snake has to make sure he's not spotted. Finally, he lays her down next to a rock where she begins seizing up, most likely due to a lack of water. Snake holds her down as one of the soldiers approaches them. When the soldier reaches them, he shoots down at a snake and walks away towards the rest of his men. However, at this point, a cobra approaches Snake and Quiet and lunges at them, but Snake blocks it with his arm, causing it to bite him. Snake tries to wait until the soldiers are out of sight so that he can call Pequod, but he passes out first due to the cobra's venom. When Quiet wakes up, Pequod is calling out to Snake to answer so that he knows his location, as he can't find him in the sandstorm. Quiet starts getting nervous as Snake lies dying from the venom. She tries to respond to Pequod in the Navajo language, but he can't understand her. After a few attempts, he tells her that he can't stay there any longer and that he's heading out. Quiet becomes frustrated and slowly comes to terms with what she must do if she wants to save Snake. She takes a deep breath and responds to Pequod in English.
The boss is with me.
She tells him that Snake is with her and guides Pequod towards their location by looking at, I guess, the helicopter's light through the sandstorm? Or through the radar, or I don't know, maybe good hearing skills. Anyway, she guides him by telling him which way to turn, even warning him against strong winds approaching so that he can readjust his angles. In other words, she does enough talking where it can't be denied that the parasite inside her will have been triggered.
No, you're moving away from us. Circle back to your 8 o'clock. Proceed to your 10 o'clock. Come back towards your 1 o'clock. Shift slightly to your left. Now proceed straight. 1.5 miles. Slide right. A little more. Yes, there you go. 1 more mile. Strong winds approaching. Quick, adjust to your right. Left. A little left. Yes. Now hold your position and proceed straight. Half a mile to go. Pequod, I can see you. I have a visual.
Once Pequod gets close enough, Quiet calls out to him, and Pequod is surprised when he finds out that he's been talking to Quiet, since that he didn't know she could be so talkative. When Pequod lands, they inject Snake with an anti-venom and Snake wakes up. but Quiet is nowhere to be seen. Snake goes out looking for her in the desert, following the footprints she left behind. At the end of the trail, all he finds is a tree with a cassette tape hanging from it. Snake listens to it and hears a final message from Quiet to him. She tells him that she wished they could have shared a common tongue, so that she could have expressed her feelings towards him. She said that the only language they shared was the language of vengeance, but that is no language at all. So she chose the language of gratitude instead, and thus go back to silence. She is shown somewhere far in the desert alone, and as she walks off, she simply says,
I am quiet. I am the absence of words.
Mission 46, The Man Who Sold the World. I have no real way of transitioning into this mission because there is no transition for it. It just kind of appears in the mission list and it just happens, just out of nowhere. Bam, there it is. So here it is, Mission 46, the final mission of the game. This mission starts in March 16th, 1975, right after the helicopter crash from 9 years ago. It shows doctors trying to revive Big Boss while he lay on a gurney, bloodied after the helicopter crash. They use a defibrillator to try and get a pulse from him, but he continues to flatline as Kaz calls out to him and says,
Don't you die on me, damn it!
After a few attempts, he finally has a pulse again. When Kaz asks about his condition, the doctor says that he's stabilized, but he's in a coma. Kaz then looks straight at the camera, straight at you, and asks, what about him? Then the doctor and the nurses all turn away from Big Boss and towards the camera, towards you. While looking at you, the doctor says,
Yeah, took some shrapnel to the head.
The screen then cuts to black, and from here on, the game plays similarly to the beginning of the game, with a few small but at the same time huge differences. At the same time, the same scenes can now be viewed with a different perspective, starting with the fact that you're not Big Boss, but whoever you were also in a coma. So everything that's happened in this game has not been Big Boss's story. It has been Venom Snake's story, or Punish Snake's story, or your story. Anyways, everything plays out exactly the same way up until the part where the doctor talks about plastic surgery. After saying, this is you as you lived up until this day, and you look in the mirror he hands you, it is not Big Boss's face you see. It is the face of the avatar you've created. The first time around, you created your face and then he took off your bandages to show you that your face had healed up nicely. However, the way this plays out makes it look like this all happened at the same time. The truth is that between the first time he showed you your face and the second time, 48 hours had passed. And that's why when he hands you the mirror again, you see Big Boss's face. Because he changed your face to look like Big Boss. Which makes sense. I always find it weird that the first time he says he's taking off your bandages, the only difference is that your eye is now revealed. Now that we know what really happened, we know that he was actually taking off bandages you had all over your face after a facial reconstruction surgery. Anyways, after this, he does this thing where he shows you the pictures of Big Boss, Kaz, and the helicopter pilot and the other MSF soldier. However, this time around, you're shown grabbing the picture from him and moving the top picture over in order to reveal the fourth guy wearing the face mask was actually you. Behind that picture are words that say good luck with whatever name you chose from Vic Boss. So you were one of Big Boss's soldiers 9 years ago, and you were in the helicopter crash 9 years ago with him, which means you can only be one of two people. Yeah, to the people who played this game, I said one or two. Did you guys forget that soldier in the background during the attack on Mother Base? He was the only guy wearing a face mask in the scene. Although the way everything is told, to be fair, says that you were actually the medic that took out the bomb out of from Paz's stomach. But theories are nice. Anyways, now we know who you are. Some random soldier. Nothing special about you. It's literally just supposed to represent you. That's why you create a face for him. Anyways, let's continue. The rest of the level plays out exactly the same way until you and Ishmael, did you forget about Ishmael? Escape the hospital. After this crash of the ambulance, remember how Ishmael was no longer there? That's because he woke up before you did. As he was getting ready to get you out of your seatbelt, he was dragged out by none other than Ocelot. Ocelot tells Ishmael to follow him, referring to him as Boss, leaving you in the ambulance. A few hours later, presumably after you and Ocelot fight off Volgan and his horse, Ocelot meets back with Ishmael, who we know now was the actual Big Boss. Ocelot hands him a passport and tells him that his name, starting today, is the name on that passport. The passport has the name that you made in the beginning of the game. He says that you will take Big Boss's place and that from here on, you are Snake. Big Boss refers to you as his very own phantom. Apparently, since the whole world was after Big Boss at this point, they used you as a way to divert attention from Big Boss. After Snake bids Ocelot farewell, they both go their own way. At some point in time, Snake, as in you Snake, as in Venom Snake, Punish Snake, is shown in a washroom in Mother Base. There you find a tape titled, "From the Man Who Sold the World." You then look at a mirror and see your old face in it instead of Big Boss's face. At which point you start remembering events from Ground Zeroes. It shows you cutting open Paz's stomach in order to get the bomb out of her. It then shows when Paz's bomb exploded, you threw yourself in front of Big Boss and took most of the explosion yourself, having shrapnel fly into your head, namely the one that's now sticking out of it. This kept most of the damage from Big Boss. You then put the cassette tape you found in a cassette player and play it. It's a tape from Big Boss himself. He asks if you finally remember who you are. He explains that thanks to you, he cheated death and left his mark in the world, but so did you. As Big Boss is nothing but a code name, he says that you are both Big Boss. But he goes back on that and instead says that instead of both of you being Big Boss, it's more like you are two parts of a whole. You aren't Big Boss and he isn't Big Boss. The identity of Big Boss, the legend of Big Boss, is you two put together. He is you and you are him. He tells you that together, through your actions, you can change and shape the future. Snake, as in you, smirk and take the tape and flip it over. The opposite side is titled Operation Intrude N313. You put it in a bit recorder and play it as you walk away. The camera rotates and shows that an MSX2 computer is on the other side of the table. What's the significance of all of this? Well, for the people who don't know, Operation Intrude N313 is the name of the mission of the very first Metal Gear game. And the very first Metal Gear game is the next game in the Metal Gear Solid timeline. In other words, the game that goes right after this game. This game was developed for the MSX2 computer. Anyways, you walk back into the scene 10 times bloodier and 10 times hornier. Look at that big horn. You break the mirror in front of you, at which point parts of the mirror that have missing glass show different versions of Snake. The reflection also shows that the door behind you no longer has a Diamond Dogs logo, but instead a logo with a skull in the center of it. And then you walk away. After the credits, guess who you hear? And that's right, Ocelot, talking to Kaz at an unspecified time. Most people think, and I agree, that this is probably after all the events. Some people think that this could have been before everything happened. Who knows? I think it's before after. It's after all the events because of the stuff Kaz says. Kaz, who apparently was not aware of any of the stuff we just learned, assuming that this was after the events and not before. He asks Ocelot what it was all for. what's Big Boss's real plan. Ocelot tells him that the real Big Boss is working to create his own nation, which is why he needed Zero and the rest of the world off his back. This wouldn't be a military without borders, but an actual nation of soldiers for soldiers. But until that's done, Kaz and Ocelot had to continue supporting you, the other Big Boss. Kaz responds saying that he thought he lost it all 9 years ago, but now he really has lost it all, including Big Boss and the plans they had. Ocelot tells him that one day the age of Big Boss's son will arrive, his clones that is, and that they will most likely come after him. But Ocelot and Kaz will have a role in shaping that age by helping both Big Bosses lead a revolution. After everything that Kaz had gone through, having Mother Base destroyed by who he thought was Zero, even after he had worked with Zero as a business partner, being captured by Soviets to keep Big Boss safe, waiting for Snake to rescue him as his limbs were cut off, and having Snake constantly go against his advice with Quiet and Huey, and now figuring out that Big Boss never even bothered coming for him, and that he had been lied to the whole time by both Big Boss and Ocelot, Kaz has had enough. Kaz simply says,
No. Big Boss can go to hell. I'll make the Phantom and his son stronger to send him there. For that, I'll keep playing my role.
Ocelot tells him that if the day ever comes when Kaz goes back to Cypher and he helps one of Big Boss's clones defeat him, he will aid the other son, meaning that one day Kaz and Ocelot would be enemies. And that's the end of the game. The rest is just cassette tapes explaining what the fuck just happened.